So, unofficial sponsorship. Chi Forest sparkling drink. Picked it up at Costco with my yay today. I tried the lychee flavor with my grandma, and that one was really good. And then the other flavors are white peach, orange, and grape. And so I went with the orange, and I am really liking it. And I will say the lychee one is really bomb for you lychee lovers. So today I'm going to start by reading a passage from meditation last night that really stuck with me, and I feel like it goes with the whole My Soul of Gold exhibition I just did, and I want to talk a little bit about that, or just kind of preview what my content is getting into. And then we'll end with a tarot reading. So we'll see how long this takes, because I want to watch the Timberwolves versus the Warriors game after this. So which is in about 15 minutes, but usually it's later. So this quote comes from Chögyam Trungpa's book Spiritual Materialism. So Chögyam Trungpa is the one who founded Shambhala, and Shambhala is like an international organization kind of dedicated to teaching people how to meditate, in my opinion. It's a community. It's not a temple. It's like westernized Buddhism, but it is rooted in Tibetan practice, which I really like. And yeah, I've been involved with some Tibetan Buddhist organizations, and I even have a Tibetan name. But yeah, I wanted to kind of share this quote from meditation last night at the Shambhala Center, and it really connects to this imagery of gold, which I've been like meditating on, thinking about, and reflecting on, and what gold is in the Buddhist perspective. And yeah, so this comes from Spiritual Materialism by Chögyam Trungpa. There is a saying in the Tibetan scriptures: knowledge must be burned, hammered, and beaten like pure gold. Then one can wear it as an ornament. So when you receive spiritual instruction from the hands of another, you do not take it uncritically, but you burn it, you hammer it, you beat it until the bright, dignified color of gold appears. Then you craft it into an ornament, whatever design you like, and you put it on. Therefore, Dharma is applicable to every age, to every person. It has a living quality. It is not enough to imitate your master or guru. You are not trying to become a replica of your teacher. The teachings are an individual, personal experience, right down to the present holder of the doctrine. So I'm kind of using this quote as like my Tarot Tuesday. I think I will probably pull a tarot card too, or a couple, but I like want to read into this text. And I think a reading can be just some text. If we think about biblical readings and just readings in any religion, we're reading something, reflecting, studying it, meditating on it, seeing how that image that's being described pops up in our life. And that's kind of what tarot is, which is why I really resonate with it. It isn't words, so if you're not much of a reader, like reading text, and you resonate more with images, tarot can be a really powerful tool for you. I do like to read though. I like to strike a balance between the two, but as an art history enthusiast, I find tarot to be a really cool tool because we're constantly looking at these images and redefining them and kind of shaping it down and beating it, burning it, hammering it until it's like that bright, dignified color, whatever the card is. And I like that imagery. So let's just kind of start with the beginning. It must be burned, hammered, and beaten like pure gold. So the process of gold making is like we don't really think about this, but you have to like meld it and shape it. So I think about all the crowns that are ornaments that are worn in our Cambodian traditions and rituals and performances. It's actually not real gold. Most of it is not real gold, but it is symbolic of um, this like radiating truth of like royalty that has long existed within our like culture of people, even though like I'm probably not royal blood, but you know, my family my family has lived in Cambodia. I'm first generation and I'm also mixed. So, um, but my peoples, you know, from before lived over there. And um, from the perspective of like being an American, but also being like of Khmer heritage and being somewhere else, it's like there is still this like longing to connect to that root or connect to this like truth about myself that I haven't discovered yet. But yeah, so back to the quote, this idea of being burned, hammered, and beaten like gold, like I really like that because it's really getting into the craftsmanship and the like artisan who is making the gold. And oftentimes, um, we don't really think about that. We just have gold. Maybe you have a gold chain or some sort of gold jewelry. I know, like in Cambodian culture, like one of my friends, Anthony, I think, said that like Asian babies are like as soon as they come out of the womb, they are dripped in gold, and that's just kind of a thing. Like we ornament our children um, because they're very valuable to us. They're the next generation of our lineage of people in our culture. So um, wearing it as an ornament. So we wear the gold as an ornament, but the person making it isn't necessarily making it for themselves. They usually aren't. They're making it for somebody. They're being commissioned to make it. So I love that process of it being like super tough, and it's like it takes a while to really shape what you want to shape with gold, and it's hot. And um, I haven't really seen the experience of or process of melting metals and welding and all that kind of stuff, but I can imagine it. And somebody in meditation last night was like saying how even when they're like sweating and putting all their energy into making this piece, even a part of them becomes a part of the gold. Like the sweat becomes a part of that piece that they make, and it is given to somebody. Nowadays, you can purchase gold, um, but you know, before when gold was being discovered, it's like, okay, we have this gold, we're going to give it to our king, our precious king. Okay, so the process of making gold or learning how to like not make gold necessarily or shape it, it's just like working with the material. So the material might be like your own experience. And so gold is a material or an experience per se that a teacher is maybe showing you, okay, this is how to work with the gold. This is how to, this is the temperature you need to get it to. This is the kind of tool you can use. These are the many kinds of tools there are. This kind of tool helps you kind of create maybe the outer shape, and then this smaller tool will help you with the fine details. But ultimately, the teacher kind of gives you the tools, but you have to make it. And the experience of making that piece, that ornament, is like the Dharma. It's the truth. It's the experience, the process, what it took for you to learn and then eventually like shape that piece. Um, yeah. And so the teachings become a personal experience, and it's like this experience of discipline and focusing on the craft. And that's kind of what meditation practice is sort of like. You have to keep practicing, and then in your living day-to-day experience, you like kind of maybe experience some sort of serendipity, and you're like, whoa, the Dharma. It's like I'm experiencing the truth of like what I've been working on, and it's a little serendipitous. So it has this sort of living quality, and something I'm like really interested in researching after working on this show is like how cultural heritage has to continuously, or specifically Cambodian heritage, that's what I'm interested in, has continuously shaped and reformed into something new. And um, I'm like at the point where I'm like learning about the history, and then I live in this contemporary world, but we all do, and we're all trying to understand our history and apply what we know to what we're trying to create. And what we create is that gold, that ornament that we get to wear, and wear it with like pride. Or even if we don't wear it, we make it with pride, and it's given to somebody else, and um, they really respect that craftsmanship and the effort that went into that piece. Um, so my Soul of Gold, the exhibition that I worked on, is largely based on this translation of a poem. And the poem, in every, it's like a crow's gate meter or something like that, and each line starts with Pelong Ni Oi. And it's very, when I talked to Hao, the photographer, one of the three artists, I'm one of the artists, so Hao, Gabriella, and myself were the artists of the exhibit. I curated, I kind of directed it. But Hao was born in Cambodia, so he kind of told me like this poem is like kind of, usually it's more sing-songy. It's like, and it's also of like of a dialect or of a elevated language that royal people speak. So um, my Soul of Gold is, or Golden Soul is, this king referring to um, this princess that he was in love with, and they were separated from each other. And when they tried to reunite, they were both killed. So throughout the poem, and I only know the translated version because I'm not fluent in Khmer, but, and also like the purpose of poetry is it to be spoken in its respective language too. So um as much as I can like really think about these translations, and this goes kind of with like what the Buddha has, quote unquote, maybe said. You can look up a quote online and it's like the Buddha said this, and it's like the Buddha didn't necessarily say that. He was saying a lot of things to people, and it was like interpretations um, and chants. And so a lot of chants are performed in Buddhist traditions. So did the Buddha say this exact line? Did this king say this exact line? No, but he was getting at the essence of this longing of reuniting with this princess who he was in love with. And throughout the translation, you see it go from more early morning, middle of the day, to night, to midnight, back to the beginning of the day. And there's the imagery of birds, and just the king is noticing all these beautiful things in nature that maybe he wouldn't have noticed if he hadn't been separated from someone he was so focused on. And then sort of just is expressing to her, yes, his love to her, but like just the love of life itself, which is incredible. um and I like the cyclical nature of it. It does kind of, it's not Romeo and Juliet, two different stories, but it is this like separation um in this longing. So the Soul of Gold that I experience, which I think of as this longing, um is like this question of to be connected to my heritage and figure out the truth of like my existence, I guess. It's very existential, but like, isn't that really relatable actually? And so I think this is why the poem is so revered in our culture. It's like it's like a cultural artifact of our heritage in a way. Just a poem. And this is just one poem. There are many poems and myths and folk tales and dances and things that have existed and have also transformed. And with technology, it's still transforming, but it's still there. And like, um, yeah, the heart. I haven't even been to Cambodia, which is crazy, but I have this really strong connection to it. And it's a place I've been to in my dreams, and it's a place I will be one day. So, and the teachings are personal experience. So, like, who knows what will happen when I go there? Um, and who knows what will happen when I just not even go there or anywhere. I'm constantly learning. It's applicable to every age, every person, it has this living quality. So, um, even if you're like, oh, I like, there's some days where you're like, I feel like I haven't figured out. And there's some days you don't, and it's like a craft. And ultimately, even when it is good, it's like eventually going to be given away, or it's going to be released and let go of. So sometimes Buddhism seems really like, um, I mean, when I first got into it, it's like, oh, like there's no ego, like there's no soul. Like that's one way to think about it, but it's like, it's the, in my opinion, I think it's like the acknowledgement, like that we do have this soul, and it's like soft and it's malleable like gold. Or maybe it's not our soul, maybe it's like our body. See, this is like a creative interpretation you can come up with, but like we're constantly being shaped and all of this, but deep down it's just this like radiating bright color of gold that lies beneath all of us, which is kind of cool. And I think that gold is maybe sometimes a talent or a craft or just something that you're good at, but what you're good at kind of also takes you different places, and um, you get new experiences. But, you know, even if I sound like so profound right now, I definitely am still trying to figure out how me getting back into art, painting again, getting back into this creativity, what it is for. And honestly, I'm like, actually, I mean, I didn't really want to get into the content creation stuff, but I'm like, low key, like, I think they need me out there. Like, they need my voice out there. And they also need all of us to, like, just kind of speak our truth. Um, and we're not trying to imitate our master or guru or become a replica of your teacher or the Buddha. We're not trying to become the Buddha. Like, the Buddha was the Buddha. Sarah is Sarah. And, like, yeah, it's like this experience. So it's really beautiful. And I think it's just an art. Like, it really is an art to like get into a meditation practice, a tarot practice, a practice of being able to look at text and figure out what it means, and then, or look at a piece of art and break, sorry, look at a piece of art and break it down and see how it makes you feel. Whether you read the description of it or not, it's still an image. And um, the artist created it. They put that craft into it. And if you meet any artist, they put a lot of time and effort into it, and it feels like boom, boom, bop, like. And even to ourselves, like, we're so hard on ourselves when we're trying to like craft this sort of perfection. So I can talk a little bit about the images behind me. Some of them were featured in the show. So we have the broken mask, which Hao and I collaborated on. It is these three youth in Cambodia, and the images are strikingly, or the stairs are strikingly gold. Um, they're all wearing these masks. Masks and crowns are very common in our culture for folk tales, telling the tales of folk tales, and just symbolism. And um, yeah, it's cool. So they're all wearing these masks, and so the cracks that are in there, I put in as a sort of collaboration with How. And when we were talking about My Soul of Gold, where he was thinking about this sort of cracked, broken history of Cambodia, and then we sort of meditated on this idea, and he brought up this idea of kintsugi, the Japanese art of filling in the cracks. And then I was like, oh, that's so amazing. I love that interpretation of My Soul of Gold. So I just told you a little bit about mine, and then this is like How's interpretation. And all I did was, I mean, it did take some craft to paint the gold and do the gold foil. I used a lot of gold foil, and that was a really fun experience for this process. And by the way, this painting is for sale if you're interested. It's a really, like, it's a process to like kind of put it all together. And I was even gold foiling in like 5 minutes before people were showing up, because I'm like, I think there just needs to be a little bit more gold there and there. And yeah, but it's a super cool piece, and I like it. It feels like this like contemporary age of Cambodian art coming together. But at the same time, like, I think all Cambodian art is contemporary because it's still alive, and you see the old, but you see the new, and you see the old and the new coming together. And like, that's how culture and heritage is preserved, through using both. And it is really rooted in this knowledge of history and this using the practice and the culture, the way people do things. I also have a couple books that we use to curate. This is the book that I found the translation of My Soul of Gold, Prolong Mi Ai, which that is Prolong Mi Ai, which I did with Japanese ink. A little Japanese art inspired in here. So yeah, I did that one. It's on a bamboo stick. And then we have The Golden Voice, which is from How's collection. It's the ballad of Cambodian rock's lost queen, which we could completely, totally get into the like golden era of music in Cambodia in the 50s and 60s. I think it's mostly 60s, where there was like this influence of American rock and roll in Cambodia, and a lot of those voices were lost from the Khmer Rouge. So, which is a really devastating part of our history. But at the same time, like, there's a publication, the story still like survives, and that is like the heart of it. And then this is one of Gabby's books that she lended to us, The Apsaras of Angkor. I've just been really obsessed with the image of the Apsara, and that's my brand, the Apsara Creative. And then that's an Apsara right next to it, which is my mother's, which is a celestial dancing angel or nymph goddess in Buddhist iconography, Cambodian iconography. It's got some Indian influence. And yeah, so I also have this image of Gabby, who is my dance instructor, that we curated. And yeah, dance is a huge part of the push for contemporary art and traditional art kind of coming together. And the contemporary art is the youth doing these traditional dances, but then it is also learning about who those youth are and why they dance and what brings them into dance. And just getting to know Gabby was an incredible experience too, to learn about why she got into dance and to see her progression. And now she's an instructor, and she's a little younger than me, but it's still a process. Like, I'm in the process of becoming a teacher, but in a different field, in special education. She's becoming a teacher in dance. But I think we can kind of resonate with the sentiment of trying to teach people and cultivate skills. And you have to be really good at cultivating those skills yourself, to be a good teacher. And then also, these teachings ultimately it's just like, okay, I'm showing you my experience with this, and this is how I've done it. But the way you like actually pick up on it is the practice, and then you're like experiencing it. You're experiencing the Dharma itself. This one I purchased at the Zia Gallery. It's from a Cambodian artist, and it's an Apsara contemporary art, and I really like it. And I'm like, it's getting added to my collection. And then we have the Cyclo Driver, which is done by How. Cyclo driving is an art itself too. It is also a like piece of cultural heritage. That's how tourists used to get around. And now in this age, there's cars and tuk-tuks and motor vehicles, which is tuk-tuks are also still very cultural. Like you don't see those in America, but I love the bike, the Cyclo Driver, and I just got a bike, so I've been super excited to bike around this summer in Minnesota. So um, knowing that like somebody has that heart and that energy to continue to do what they love on the other side of the world, and yeah, that's just really inspiring. So we can all learn from the Cyclo Driver. And this one is also for sale. It's actually part of a 3-part set, which I can, maybe show some like like an overview. Yeah, so, and then some books that I also curated that are my mom's collection. But yeah, that's the gist of it, and I really liked what I said, so hopefully I don't have to edit it too much because I don't like to edit. And it would be nice to have a producer if anybody is interested in a collaboration. And don't know if I can pay you yet, but if you want to talk about art, be featured on the potential podcast, let me know. And I forgot to mention the merchandise I'm wearing is another piece of Cambodian contemporary and traditional art, um, curated by Khmer Renaissance and the Middle Child. Like it's an archive. So definitely check them out. They're one of my inspirations for kind of putting my content out there online. Um, Especially Khmer Renaissance. I got to interview Sotero one time when I was like trying to put together a grant. I didn't get the grant, but it was just a really good experience to just talk to somebody who's like knows people, and it's just like we need to be meeting each other. So this content is for everybody, and it's for everybody who's interested in knowing about Khmer culture, but also like I'm really like reaching out to my Khmer folk to connect. So special shout out to you guys, and I would love to hear your interpretation of My Soul of Gold and the poem, and just like kind of what you think of the quote I curated just now, and the art. If you're interested in buying it, let me know for sure. Yeah, so I think let's get into the quick tarot reading part 2, and we'll just kind of get into this reading. Maybe take a minute while I shuffle to contemplate what it is you're asking from the universe right now. Maybe it could just, if you don't have a question specifically, what is it that you are longing for? What is your soul of gold? Or how does my soul of gold kind of relate to this reading for right now?
There is no certain way to pick cards. You just kind of shuffle it. You can do the ones that fly out, or you can just, cut it out, cut the deck. Just put your energy into it. I'm putting my energy into this one. And this energy I'm putting into it is for a collective. It's a collective reading, so.
Let's see. Just as all of your experiences from the time of your birth into your physical body until now have culminated into who you are, just as all of your experiences from the time of your birth into your physical body until now have culminated into who you now are, all that has ever been experienced by all that is culminated into all that is now being experienced in the physical life of in the what? Hold on, let me just read this again. Well, just as all of your experiences from the time of your birth into your physical body until now have culminated into who you now are, all that has ever been experienced by all that is has culminated into all that is now being experienced in the physical life experience on planet Earth. That one's kind of crazy because it's like, what are you saying? But luckily, the other side has just like a general mantra that we can work with, and that is I am standing on the leading edge of thought. I am standing on the leading edge of thought. Okay, I feel like that goes with this idea of longing and um, finding that soul of gold. Back of the deck is the magician. You can think of the magician as an alchemist, as a creator, as an artist, as an artisan, a crafter maybe. He's got the pentacle, he's got the cup, he's got the sword, he's got the wand. That's all of the materials kind of seen throughout the tarot. The four main like symbols we're working with. Not the four main symbols, there's many symbols we're working with, but the four main items. Pentacles, cups, swords, and wands. So pentacles is very earth, material, money, things we're working with. What we have to think about. Spiritual materialism, it could be literal physical gold. We have the cup, which could be that emotional gold. It could be that glass of wine that you share with a lover, or that glass of wine you indulge with yourself, or not necessarily wine. It could be tea, it could be water. It's the cups are nourishing. We're being nourished, and it often has to do with our emotions. Then we have the sword, which is I like to think of mental clarity, because we use a sword and it's cutting through air constantly. Um, and I think also what cuts through air is our voice, our what we have to say. So the swords definitely have a lot to do with communication. And then the wands, which is you could think of it as like magical, like I have a magical wand, but it's not really like that. I think it's more of like a staff or a rod, and it's made of wood, so it can be burned. So it's very fire energy. It also represents some sort of creativity too, because you're like, what do I do with this rod? And it could be kind of magical, like I said in the beginning. Um, and so the top of the deck, or our card that we're working with, is the Three of Swords. So that's, I mean, you can see it right there. It's heartbreak. So pain and maybe separation, loss, but heartbreak. Something just really hurting your soul. And I think how that kind of connects to the soul of gold idea is maybe the sort of reality of suffering, if we're getting into Buddhism again. I mean, we are always getting into Buddhism, but this reality of suffering that all humans experience. So, as difficult as it might be to see this card, it's something that's probably more familiar than you realize. For some of you, you're like, oh my gosh, yes. Like, somebody said something to me and it just hurt. Like, it just hurt. Um, and it cuts through like the mind, body, and spirit, maybe, because it's three. Um, but I've always like been really rooted in this card. I don't know why in tarot, and I think it's because of this like intensity I feel as a Scorpio. But um yeah, there's like raining clouds in the background. It hurts. It really hurts. But I think with the magician on the back of the deck, the magician is creative and is going to find a way to pull those swords out and heal the heart. And I love the heart. It's a, it's very symbolic of just our short experience on this earth. Like, we aren't here that long, but our heart is kind of like what makes us so great. And though we do feel suffering and sadness, we also experience joy and happiness and contentment. So when you do get that sign of hurt, it only means something. I don't know, not something. It means like there is, I don't know. I don't want to say what it means because it's like I'm going to just speak from my experience. But I think the best kind of art I've had has come from heartbreak. And if we think about the My Soul of Gold poem, it came from a place of heartbreak. He was saying in this beautiful poem to this princess, but he was heartbroken because he was separated from her. And then when they were reunited, they were both killed. And that's heartbreaking to hear. So, um, but there's this like magician on the back of the deck. So I'm like, there's this element of magic with heartbreak that I don't want to be like heartbreak is magical, but it could be. And again, the heart heals itself. And I love the symbol of the heart. My dad endured a heart problem several years ago, and his heart healed on its own. And that's just an incredible story to me. And whether that's a physical thing or an emotional thing, your heart can heal. Um, and yeah, I think because swords is communication and stuff, speaking from the heart, I think when we are heartbroken, that's when we really should speak up and speak from the heart and what is going on and acknowledge that pain. It's going to be really powerful for you. And I'm excited for you. And um, yeah, especially with this magician on the back of the deck. Oh, wow. And then the Ace of Swords. I shouldn't really be sharing you what's after, but the Ace of Swords after, it's like pull at pull these swords out because each of them can be used for something else. And sometimes we are causing that pain, inflicting that pain into ourselves. So don't do that. And I hope you enjoyed this reading. I am standing on the leading edge of thought.